When it comes to what to document for your kid, I have found there are 3 solid categories that are worth making note of, and I have some pretty compelling reasons why I think it's a good idea to do so. I don't know if you've ever had the feeling like you should maybe be writing down some of these certain details about your kid's life, but if you have, I will be making that very simple for you today. Hello, I'm Cassie from Custom Built Parenthood. I have 3 kiddos, ages 2, 5, and 7. I'm a stay-at-home homeschooling mom, and I just really love chatting with you guys about all the ups and downs of parenting. Seriously, it's like a roller coaster, isn't it? Subscribe if you're new and looking for some info and encouragement for your crazy roller coaster ride with your kiddo. So we have been in the midst of sickness around here for weeks now. So my little family of 5 have all been taking turns with fevers and coughing, ear infections, pink eye. I mean, honestly, it's been a little ridiculous. So that's why I'm outside today. All of my family are inside taking naps, and so I'm just out here sweating to death in this beautiful summer heat. Needless to say, all of this excitement of illnesses and doctor's visits has just really sparked today's topic, which is documenting your kid. So I'm talking about actually making notes about your kid's life. Why, might you ask? Trust me when I say you will thank me later. There will come a time when you have no recollection about something that someone is asking you about your kid. So maybe a friend is asking when your kid started crawling, maybe a doctor is asking when this cough started, or maybe it's an assessment asking at what age they started X, Y, and Z talking, fill in the blank. So we think we'll always remember these details, right? I mean, it's our kid. Of course we're going to remember when they took their first steps. I mean, how important is that? You won't, okay? I didn't. I don't. So I have it written down. That way I know. So just do yourself a favor and write it down. So there are 3 categories that I think are worth taking note of. We're going to talk about milestones, illnesses, and funny things that your kid says. So I'm going to show you my system of recording this information, and hopefully I'll convince you somewhere along the way, excuse me, about how good it's going to be for you to get your own system into place for your documenting of your child. You guys know by now I'm a huge advocate of never getting crazy about any of this stuff, right? We're not stressing over milestones. We're not going into emergency mode when we notice a cough. We are just simply jotting down a little record about what's going on. So first, let's write down milestones. In the first couple of years, there are a ton of little tiny things that your baby is learning. So my mom bought me this cute little baby calendar. It came with a ton of little stickers like, they discover their hands and first trip to grandma's house and all of these little tiny milestones. And at the time when she gave it to me, I honestly thought like, this is just a big pain in the butt, right? I don't really care. I'm not super sentimental about all these little tiny things, but I did it partially out of obligation, right? And lo and behold, it has come in handy. Thanks, Mom. Love you. So you can use something like that, like a little calendar, especially for that first year, or just choose an app or a journal or anything really that's just going to be super handy. That's the thing, you want it to be very accessible so that doesn't deter you from writing things down because it's kind of a pain to get to. So choose something that's very handy. I like to use Evernote. It's a free app, and I just have notes on there. I have like a notebook is how you organize it for each of my children, and you can separate them different like topics, so illnesses, milestones, those types of things, or you could just have one big document all in there. You can access it from multiple devices. I just always use it on my phone, and then it's right there with me handy. If I'm at the doctor's or somewhere, you can just get to it anytime. I'd say milestones is for sure the most important of the 3 categories. It's just going to come in handy so many times and is actually really important information to have. So my 5-year-old, we are in the midst of getting him assessed for autism, and I have needed to go back and look at all that documentation to know when he was crawling, walking, talking, and really detailed information that they have been needing to know. That's been really helpful. Also, as I have multiple children, I have 3 kids, it's really fun to kind of compare and see when did she walk compared to when did he start walking, Also, friends and family, like I said, are likely to ask you, and it's nice to know. It's good to know when they started doing these things. So if nothing else, document the milestones. It's a super simple thing to just jot down the date, and then you just have that for your record. Next, let's record illnesses. This one is more of a short-term thing in my opinion. So right now, like I've said, we're probably about 2.5 weeks in to this virus or whatever we have going on. And luckily, when it started, I know by now to just make a note. So I wrote June 15th, Grayson had a fever. I wrote the temperature, and obviously I'm writing like logging ibuprofen and things like that. So you're kind of making those notes anyways. So just have it all in one place. And then as it has evolved, I will put what day we went to the doctor, what they said, if there was, so my daughter then caught the virus. So I wrote the day that her fever started. And then I was able to know day 5 of the fever, like, oh my gosh, it's been 5 days. Yes, let's take her in. They started antibiotics for ear infections. I wrote all that down, and now here we are today going back to the doctor for that same child because the fever is back. And it's just really important for me to have in my mind and on my record when things started, what's been going on, because the doctor's going to want to know how long things have lasted or how high the fevers were. All those details are really good to have. Ear infections has been the only thing, like with that autism assessment, that's been the thing that they have asked me about, how many ear infections he had when he was a baby, so apparently that is very relevant. But otherwise, the illnesses for me are just more of a short-term thing. Obviously, you can access doctor records from your pediatrician or something, but it's something you won't have until you go into the doctor, like they won't have record. So I keep those records, and then once everyone's healthy, you can always just erase it, or you can just keep a log, either way, but at least have the short term when an illness pops up, or when a cough starts, when a fever starts, those types of things. It's just good to have written down. Lastly, let's write down funny things your kid says. This is obviously more of just a fun optional thing, but I really enjoy going back and reading the really, really funny things that my kids have said. So I just have how do they organize it? So you have notebooks in Evernote, and then must be a note. So I have a note in Evernote that just says kid phrases, and I'll just put like April 2022, Shiloh said this, and I'll just write down the really funny thing that she said. And it is just, you get such a kick out of going back and looking at those funny things. I probably have like 1 or 2 every month or so, just whenever something pops up, but it's really fun to have that documented too. So if you're now on board with this whole idea of documenting your kid, you can either start right now, moving forward, or you can try to backtrack a little bit to try to document things from the past. So you can sift through past pictures, social media posts, or even text to other people to get a few things. So this is for sure worth doing for those milestones. If at any point down the road you end up getting your child assessed for something, or like I said, people are coming to you asking questions, milestones is really the one thing that you'll probably want to have. So think about finding those things. You probably have pictures and videos of your baby's first steps, so that's a really easy one. Even talking, you can kind of sift through and go back and see when they started saying certain words. So that should be pretty easy to just go back in your gallery and just look through and find those dates and have those dates written down. So that's it. Just think to notice milestones, illnesses, and funny things that they say. We're just going to get in the habit of writing things down. Create this tiny little habit, and you will save yourself some serious headaches down the road. Thank you for sticking with me today through my hoarse voice and the wind and the sun and the dogs barking. I appreciate it. You guys are doing awesome, and we'll see you next time.